The system is the message. So over the years, there have been different types of systems. In the beginning, there was no connectivity between systems. There was no connectivity between computers, or if so, it was minimal, and you were expecting everything to be done on the system. So on device, so systems like Microsoft Word, Outlook, email were all systems which worked on the phone, on the device, so on the computer. And the same thing happened when mobile phones first came out, that you had systems which worked on the phone. So MMS, SMS were all clients which were sitting on the phone. It wasn't till Reliance Infocom came out with a kind of data infrastructure that you could think of this word of thin clients, where most of the computing was done outside the device and therefore on the network or the cloud. Now the thing with the cloud is that it's ubiquitous. That once something is in the cloud, it's something which you can access from anywhere. So if you were looking at saving your documents, or you were looking at, like, where do you put your accounts, and your accounts are something which have to be shared with your CA, and then later on to the government, for returns. So initially, of course, everybody used a system called Tally, which was sitting on your computer. But this is a system which inherently could be independently configured, or was not a system which controlled the users. Now, the whole concept of the system controlling the users is that you are controlling the overall experience. So Bill Gates, when he started making Windows, he created a system which people would use but would not regularly or inherently control the user. Whereas with Steve Jobs and Apple, it was about a integrated system where the hardware, software, everything worked together to create an experience that it was seamless and integrated and end to end. So he was the person who came up with this concept of music being stored on the cloud, and people could then download it or listen to it for a certain price, or and download it on their phone or computer. And by doing that, he created this kind of tight ecosystem, because by the time you reached a thing like a mobile phone, he had already created this concept of media being available online. And when you have media is always the first thing which people interact with. Anybody using a device, the first thing, like of course the TV was the first part, was about you watching media. And then the second part becomes about you interacting and using it. So that's where apps came up, where you had certain features which you could use. For example, Shazam was one of the first apps which you could point at any radio channel or speaker, and it would be able to recognize the song and be able to tell you what is the full name of the song. And which was quite revolutionary for its time. It was one of the earliest apps, and they were even like Shazam top 20s, where it would tell you that okay, this is what people are listening to, because it's able to, every time it was used, it was able to recognize those songs and therefore say that okay, this is what people are listening to the most. So from apps on the phone, on the device, like Conqueror on Linux or Microsoft Word, we were moved to cloud experiences, and this predominantly has been the space of Google, where Google, in the beginning it wasn't a great experience, but it was amazing that they were able to convert the whole Office suite into like a cloud system and then create something where it worked together. And it's also become like a go-to place for me to save my documents. But the whole problem is that systems were designed with a concept of at that time. So in the beginning, mobile phones had very slow speed. So therefore, when they connected to the Wi-Fi, they had a much faster speed. So with Google Drive, you have a concept whereby they allow you to upload or download documents only on Wi-Fi. That's really, really uncalled for, because today the speed of the mobile network is much, much faster than the speed of typical Wi-Fi, especially in rural areas. And especially with the fact that today most people use devices for everything, and sometimes even as a replacement for their laptop or computer. So expecting somebody to connect over Wi-Fi or wait for Wi-Fi is not sensible, and it doesn't make sense, because then you're defeating the whole purpose of the phone. I mean, before there was this whole concept of side loading apps where you needed a computer to load apps onto a phone, but it's not there anymore. Now, for example, if I want to upload something into Google Drive, now Google Drive has a great application whereby today you can even scan documents, convert images to PDFs, and it directly gets saved onto your Google Drive. You can identify the drive immediately, and this is much, much better than what was happening with Microsoft Lens. So the issue is, how do you make sure that it doesn't only upload when there is Wi-Fi, that it can upload through the network. So if you select the Google Drive app when it's open, you can go into the settings and you can say, you can remove that tick mark which says disable mobile downloading, disable mobile network downloading. So if you did that, then you're able to use the Google Drive, you directly upload into the Google Drive without waiting for Wi-Fi. So that's the hack, and that's the system. Because now with Google, because when Google launched Gmail, it revolutionized everything, and everybody started moving because it simply became the simplest email possible. But just that after some time they started making it so simple that you were so addicted to it that they launched this concept of AdSense, and ads which sensed what you were reading, watching on email, which at that time was something which scared people because it meant that you were losing your privacy. But finally, yes, that's what has happened when you use Google, because there is no such thing as a free system. The whole reason they're giving it to you free is because they want your data, which they then sell to the highest bidder to then start pushing ads to you. So that's the system, and that's where the system is the message, because the system you use defines who you are and what kind of culture you expect or accept. So yes, that's the system.